Gyananjana Salakaya
Chakshurumiltam
Shri Gurave Namaha. So folks, welcome back to Bhagavad Gita. And as Prabhupada said, as it is. So as I understand, the topic that we are reviewing tonight is time. Not the magazine, but as it is said as one of the main topics in Bhagavad Gita. This is, now when Prabhupada talks about time in his introduction to Bhagavad Gita, he is speaking in terms of Krishna's colossal arrangement of the universe, that like big time, only the biggest time. So because we can divide time, and as we do, into very tiny things, and then we make it bigger. We make our 1 week plan, or 5-year plan, or 10-year plan. So Krishna also has this kind of big planned time, or big cycles of time that he refers to. The only problem is that as Krishna is inconceivable, right? So when he starts to talk about time, he talks in such big numbers that he's trying to explain it, right? Like he says, Brahma's lifetime is this long. So here's some information for you. Brahma's lifetime is this long. First of all, here's some information. There's such a being as Brahma. There's somebody who has 4 heads. And he's involved in creating the universe. So if there's somebody like that, then do you expect him to just like be like me, just to like get old and die real quick? No, it's not like that. So Krishna says, here's how long Brahma's day is. And he starts out with something we can almost understand. So Kali Yuga, 432,000 years. Okay, well, I thought history started 3,000 years ago with the Egyptians. So what's this? 432,000 years. And that's just one cycle. And that's the shortest cycle, right? There's the Dwapara Yuga is twice as long as Kali Yuga. So then you're getting to 800,000 years. Treta Yuga, twice as long as Dwapara Yuga. So then you're getting into 1,600,000 years. And Satya Yuga, twice as long as that. And then you add them all together. You got, 4 million years. And that's one day of Brahma. Okay, 4 million years. He lives, that's one of his days. So already we're boggled. What does it even mean? Somebody's day is 4 million years long. And his night is that long also. So I hope you don't have trouble sleeping. You got 4 million years of nighttime. So that's Lord Brahma. So Krishna tries to explain a little bit about how colossal, how vast is the time cycle. So that's in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. Now, I took a moment to look at the couple of verses that are referred to in describing time in the Bhagavad Gita. And the most famous one, of course, is in the 11th chapter, where Arjuna is just like totally befuddled at seeing this universal form of Krishna. It's scary. If God wants to be scary, he can be scary. Scarier than the scariest. That's never his intention. The material world can sometimes be frightening. And the material world is nothing. So what to speak of God? If he wants to be frightening, he can be like overwhelmingly frightening. It's even to somebody like Arjuna, a great, powerful hero. When he saw this form of Krishna, he said, "Wah! Who are you? What are you?" And that's what Krishna says. Um, Time I am. I come to destroy the worlds. And he says that because he's trying to convince Arjuna, really. He's saying that because the second part of his statement is, because I am the destroyer of the worlds, ultimately, that all these soldiers that you're thinking you don't want to fight, I'm the one who's going to destroy them, not you. It's my will. So it's part of an argument. He's not trying to overwhelm Arjuna. And in fact, he very quickly resumes his relatable form, which is good news for us, that God is not the all-powerful God who's just like so much bigger than us that we can't relate. In fact, exactly the opposite. Krishna is so relatable. In fact, as we mentioned last week, kind, compassionate. Anyway, so Krishna, in the introduction, Krishna refers to time like that. The other verse in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna talks about time in the 10th chapter, it's an indirect reference or a small reference. And what does he say that, I happen to have Bhagavad Gita right here. So he says that, I am inexhaustible time. That's all. He's just telling Arjuna, he's giving Arjuna an overview saying, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. It's hard to miss me. If you're not looking for God, you'll never see him. And if you're looking for God, turns out he's everywhere. You can't not see God. So he starts to tell Arjuna like that. This is what I am. You've ever seen a shark? Well, I'm the greatest shark. You've ever seen a mountain? I'm the greatest mountain. You've ever heard conclusive truth? That's me speaking. And so he talks about, I'm inexhaustible time. So those are two references in Bhagavad Gita. Then we also have two other references that I saw in the homework from the Srimad Bhagavatam. One is the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, where Krishna is talking about the great wheel of time, the Sudarshan Chakra. And this is very interesting because the Sudarshan Chakra, the wheel of Krishna, we know in Krishna book, how does he use his chakra? It's a weapon, right? Like cut off the head of Sishupal and others, rascals. Just lets them talk, and then when time comes, the Sudarshan comes and cuts off their head. An invincible weapon, in other words. A weapon that cannot be opposed, cannot be counteracted. That's Krishna's weapon, that's Sudarshan Chakra. So this wheel of time is described in Bhagavatam as invincible, as we might expect. But the interesting thing is that the Sudarshan Chakra, we also have stories where it becomes the friend and the savior of the devotee, as with everything Krishna. That very same Sudarshan Chakra, which can destroy anything, anywhere, anytime, acts as the protector of a devotee. Right? You'll see the same chakra on top of a temple that Lord Krishna is protecting. So he's not only killing, although he can if he wants, but more importantly, he's protecting. And then, but for our purposes and for understanding time in our lives, as it is a topic of Bhagavad Gita, it's more like to remind us of the fact that time is, as different songs say, slipping away into the future. It's also interesting, the future, when we talk about it, it's never there. It's always the future, and the past is never here. So we're always just in the eternal now, as the Buddhists might say. So that's a fact. But it's time is the reminder that um, you can't keep anything. Everything is taken away ultimately. Prabhupada refers in his own life to the partition. So, we weren't there. It was an historical event. Uh, the partition in India where they separated Hindustan and Pakistan. But he refers to it because he says during that time of social upheaval, which he witnessed in his lifetime, he saw how many rich, wealthy, influential gentlemen lost everything. They lost their land, they lost their wealth, they lost their families, lost everything. Taken. You're thinking it's mine, right? But it can be taken away. So he was just giving a social example of things, and you don't know when that is going to happen. I knew one devotee, he was from Bolivia in South America. He said his family was very wealthy. And then they woke up one morning and they were no longer wealthy. The government had devalued the currency to such an extent that your money wasn't worth anything. Overnight, you're rich one day, the next day you got nothing. You have to start scrambling. That can happen. It does happen. It has happened. Um, so you're living in a world of uncertainty is on one thing. Not to create fear. The last thing we want is to live in fear, of course. But to create some perspective and understanding of the world that we do live in, and the influence of time. So we can see the influence of time and just by looking at our own flesh, our own bodies. That it used to be like this, then it became like this, then it became like this. So it wasn't that because that's gone forever. It wasn't this, that's gone forever. So it must not be what it is right now because that's going to be gone forever also by the influence of time. And this is what in the other study reference, verse from Bhagavatam, was talking about Vidura instructing his brother Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra was classical, materialist, in the sense that he did not want to, his social responsibility, our social responsibility, at a certain stage of life at least, is to realize that I've got to give myself entirely to God every minute of every day, because that's the next step. I'm busy with so many things, but at a certain point, the next step is none of those things. The next step is I got to face my actual demise, the end of this body. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, and as we can practically understand, for one who is born, death is certain. There is no question. Everything material goes through the phases. It's born, it grows, gives some byproducts, and then it starts to dwindle and dwindle, and then it's gone. Not only gone, but gone forever. So that's the material body. So Dhritarashtra, he had gone through all that. His brother said, "Look, older brother, you were blind when you were born, so you've been blind your whole life. Now you're losing your hearing. You can't hardly hear. Your teeth are becoming loose. You can't hardly chew. You're losing your memory. You've lost all your sons. They're all dead. One of your younger brothers is dead. Your father is dead. What are you doing?" And Prabhupada said that this is what a sage does. He's not interested in making his brother feel good, that it's okay, No, he's trying to tell him, do what you have to do. Now is the time. It's always the time, but now take it really serious. That time has come for you, and you're sitting here trying to pretend that you're still the king. You never were the king. You're sitting here pretending that you're the king because Yudhisthira is taking care of you nicely. Um, but break out of your illusion, brother, because death is like inches away. And the reason that's such good advice, when you think about it, is because Krishna tells us in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that whatever state of mind that you've developed at the end of your life, that's taking you someplace. That's exactly where you're going. So that's terrible news and that's great news. Terrible news because most people, Prabhupada says this about Dhritarashtra. He says generally a person in the same situation, there's all sorts of people in this world in the same situation, they don't care what a sadhu has to say. They're not interested. It's like blah, blah, blah. I don't care. um, but if from this this chapter, this verse from the 8th chapter, we can understand that how valuable that advice is, that take your consciousness and absorb it in thoughts of God. Very valuable advice because time is acting and time is taking away everything. Uh, very surely, then you can take advantage of that fact that I've only got, it's good news. I've only got, it's a finite window I have to work with here, one human life. And we keep thinking it, so it takes so long, it goes on forever, but it doesn't. We have practical experience that there can be some event that you think, oh, this is going on, it's going on, but then it's over. Winter is going on and on, then it's over. Summer is going on. Every phase that we experience, it may seem superficially, oh, it's lasting forever, forever, forever. It's not. And also, Krishna identifies himself with time because you can't see it. You can only see the effects of time. You can see the effects of time by looking in the mirror. And if you don't look in the mirror for like 6 months at a time, then you'll see, oh, gee, it's kind of changing a bit. Not so much, but suddenly you look in there and then, oh, the hair is white. It wasn't always like that. It wasn't always like that. But then it becomes like that. What happened? That's time. We can see it by its effect. And so we're, even though it's invisible and it's subtle, Krishna is saying, time I am, meaning it is irresistible. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It is the most irresistible force. It can crush mountains, and it does. It buries entire civilizations. Time does. So it's inevitable, and that's really the whole point of thinking about what time means in our lives. Meaning that it's time to become, I'm a little serious about Krishna consciousness. Now it's time to become more serious, to take one more step. Not as a sense of duty, but as a sense of assisting myself, doing a good for myself, a good turn for me by becoming more serious about Krishna consciousness. Anyway, that's basically what how Krishna talks about what is time in our life, what is the cosmic time, and how what it means to somebody with a material body. So I'm just going to leave it at that because that's about as deep as this well goes. And if there's any questions or comments or reflections on anything that has been said or anything you might have read on this topic, then you're welcome to share it. Can anybody remember being young and then now realizing, oh, I'm not that age anymore? Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah, it happens. Yes. So Um, so you can see the influence of time. It becomes particularly relevant when you're like, I just had my 69th birthday. So at a certain point, it becomes very relevant because Prabhupada says that the onset of the debilitating diseases are the indication that, oh, death is next. They call it a shot over the bow. So the shot over the bow means a warning. And then after the warning comes the real thing. So the warning is anytime you're sick, that's the warning. And if you don't hear the warning, then you won't be ready when the real shot comes. Okay. So that's all we have, folks. I'm expecting Jade to ask some question.
Well, I was, when you were talking about this, I was really reflecting on my parents as they're both like getting close to 70, and how much they're suffering because they're scared, their time is limited and their body is hurting, and they keep saying to me, just you wait and see, you'll feel this way. But I try to tell them, well, I'm trying to cultivate a different mindset. Like, I understand that it is finite and I don't want to waste it, it's such a precious thing. So if you don't understand that, I can see how it causes people a lot of suffering.
Yeah. And you don't see a way out, or
Yeah.
you don't know. You haven't cultivated faith seriously enough in this life for that faith to actually mean something, where that God is not mean. He's going to take care of me. It's a cultivation. Um, yeah.
It's a very big topic, like thanks to Prabhupada, we are sitting in this session and talking about this. But and this is Canada, a developed country, which people many times they don't think about God. They're more talking about science and whatnot. But even if you go back to India, which is a very Vedic country, every house has a temple in their own house. Every house is an altar. But there is something still missing. Like, I am from a Hindu family, we used to eat non-veg, chicken and stuff. And even though your shastras will say you that is killing, but you still do it because you don't have a proper understanding of what you're doing. It's a very big topic you're talking of. We're talking of millions of East Indians who still eat meat and who still drink every day, even though they do worship. They're kind of afraid of God, but they are not loving God. Let's put it that way. This is, maybe I'm wrong. I'm very young to make big comments, but yeah, it's a very big topic. When you ask any questions, time, what question we can ask? It's just realization. I think if I realize that every second of my life is very important, because one day it's gonna go away, nobody can stop it. Even if I have millions of dollars, I can't stop it. Even if I know the best doctors on the planet, I can't stop it. Even if I know the best astrologers, they can't save me. So I think it's it's a realization which certainly can come from books though. So so when Prabhupada said distribute my books, it's something behind his mind, because what changes most of the people who come to ISKCON, not Krishna, not Prabhupada, but his books. When they read his books, because Prabhupada is gone 40, 50 years ago. now we read his books and we realize, oh, this man is right. So so book distribution is a good thing, and I think it's a self realization. In the end of the day, it's when you realize, okay, that's true. It's millions of years that I'm around, and it's true. There is proofs of the people who remember their past life. There is proof when a kid is born, he's crying at a time. When he's 2 days old, actually not 2 days, 1 day old, he's laughing at a time. He's scared at a time, but he has no memories. He has nothing attached. So that tells you that that's a proof that he is remembering something that makes him scary or in a good mood or in a bad mood, because he's still with his consciousness of last lives where he has done something wrong, so he's crying. He's panting, right? He has maybe taken 1 day in name of God, so he's probably happy for that day, single day. So yeah, I think it's self-realization completely. It's it's yeah, it's self-realization. It has to come. It's mercy of Krishna too. I think it's without his mercy, it's difficult to get even to that point. But certainly books can help. Books can push. If there was no Bhagavad Gita as it is, I was probably not in this class. I'm probably watching. I don't know. What is that? I don't watch any TV from 2 years. What is that? Netflix. Netflix. I used to watch all series all night. I will be 11 o'clock and until 7 o'clock because that series is so beautiful. But that's not giving me anything. A new series will come in. You watch YouTube, you watch Facebook, you scroll down for 2 years continuously. There is millions of video which will not give you a cent of nothing. Yeah, there are some spiritual videos you can watch, which can again give you this self-realization. That's a different thing. But if you just want to go ahead, yeah, you can watch. Nobody stops you. But what are you getting from that? Yeah, that YouTuber is getting money because you're watching his videos, but you're not getting nothing. Yeah, it's a big topic. Yeah, uh, I am glad. I hope I can stick with this all my life. I really hope. But I'm glad that I realized that what is life and what we are supposed to do. Shastras are the main thing to follow. So yeah, thank you.
You covered a lot of territory there, Raj.
Okay,
I
Prabhu,
think
next class. Haribol, I'm
the
joking.
most significant, to me, the most significant point you made is understanding the the effect of the books, but looking at that in another way, that what's happening with reading those books or that book, is that Paramatma, Krishna within the heart, is telling you this what you're reading is true. Otherwise, it's just words. But then
Yes,
if Krishna is there telling you, wait a minute, this is not just words, this is not somebody's idea, this is absolute eternal truth, then the soul wakes up. Oh, here's God.
Prabhu, I was reading this shloka this morning. This is Shrimad Bhagavatam 2:8:4, Canto 2, Chapter 8, Verse 4. Here Krishna says, I'll just read English because Sanskrit, I can read Sanskrit too, but probably Shravanath Shraddhya Nityam Granath Cha Swachesitam Kalena Atidirana Bhagavan Vishwate Hariday. So English of this is, it's very nice. This is thousands of years ago. So persons who hear Shrimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time. That's a beautiful verse, Prabhu.
Yes.
It's a beautiful verse.
The
And
amazing
when he,
thing about the Srimad Bhagavatam is that verse after verse after verse is amazing.
it's beautiful.
But yes, some of the verses, they just tell you point blank that this is what to do. You
And
just
Prabhu,
read Bhagavatam.
from 2 years that I practice this, you feel yourself inside clean. You know you are clever person before, maybe trying to trick just to live in this material world, just to get that materiality more. But now you feel yourself clean. You don't want to trick anymore. You don't want to be any more smarter. You don't want to be any more, be that number one position, or oh, try to be boss. Because you know now what you are. You're not this body. So it's very beautiful. So Krishna is helping inside.
Anu, are you blocking the light or are you holding up your hand?
No, her hand.
Prabhu, I have a question. I can, when I turned 50, like you were saying, that you suddenly realize time is something you don't have, right? Because by then you say, my kids through education, and I'm okay with my career and house and everything. Kind of you're a little content with all your duties that you have done to the best of your capability. But and then you want to start preparing for your future journey, right? But the dilemma that I face is that I feel I'm always pulled from all different directions. Still, my elderly parents need me, my sick brother needs me, my husband needs me, my child needs me. And in all that, I get so overwhelmed, and I feel that the more time I want to create for myself, for my journey, and, knowing Krishna more, sometimes the less I have, no matter how much I try. And then I feel guilty that any of my duties as a daughter or wife or mother is going to suffer because somebody is going to get neglected, right? There's only so much time I have in a day. Now I do make now an effort to keep aside 45 minutes, 1 hour, where I've started telling everybody, don't interrupt me now, this is my time. I need to read and I need to do that. But then again, I'm like, am I being selfish? Am I not doing enough of my duty in different roles that I am in? I mean, Prabhu, how do
Well,
you escape this?
you have to remember that Krishna is actually your dad.
Yeah.
So that's a certain obligation that I have also to my dad. And I shouldn't ignore that one. Of course, it's a balancing act. Career, family, all these things are balancing act. But what I have to always be analyzing is how much of this is my actual responsibility and how much is that I'm just attached. That's my comfort zone. That's all I know. And I'm not really ready to you know, be Krishna's only. That's like too much. I'd just be like a raft floating on the sea. So we have to analyze, you know, because it is dharmic. You do have to be dharmic. You do have responsibilities. Um, but you have to analyze, am I doing this because I'm actually attached? Because otherwise I'm doing it for Krishna. Okay, I'm taking care of the kids because I'm doing it for Krishna. I'm, maintaining this. But ultimately, it's my service to Krishna. And then there's not that distinction. Oh, I'm serving my father, but I'm not serving Krishna. They become the same thing when you are doing it for Krishna. So they're not really conflicting interests if we do it as devotional service. But if we, if they really are distinct things, for example, maybe my daughter is just like no interest in Krishna consciousness and maybe even blasphemer God, who knows? It happens. Then, okay, I'm not obliged. And that statement is right there in Srimad Bhagavatam, that for one who gives his life to Krishna, all these other responsibilities are really incidental. You're not held accountable if you neglect that responsibility for the sake of pleasing and serving Krishna. If I neglect that responsibility for the sake of my own sense gratification, then that's bad karma. But if that so-called responsibility is, I'm giving that up, that's what sannyas means. There is such a thing as sannyas order, where all the responsibilities are incidental compared to my responsibility to Krishna. And that's the ultimate bottom line. That really is the truth, that Krishna is my ultimate absolute relationship, and every other relationship is a fleeting illusion. So yeah, those kinds of things we deal with and we learn from and we grow with them. But I think your idea of setting aside at least this time where this is strictly Krishna's time is a good place to start.
Yeah, I thought otherwise, it's like from morning till night, you just pulled around in different directions and the day goes by. But the other thing also I was thinking was that even with my dad and now with my husband, a little bit with my son, where little it's like you steal 15, 20 minutes and you just talk about Krishna and, besides all the other things that is bothering them. So that is also kind of, little time here and there in any role that I'm interacting within the family. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. But still, Prabhu, there comes a time where you just want to free yourself of everything. It's like, you still feel you have responsibilities, but I don't know, certain souls are like that. They feel that you're trapped, you as a grasta, you're trapped and you don't want to be trapped. So you just can drop everything, leave and take off, it bothers you so much because
Yeah.
maybe
Well, that being bothered is a good thing, because that's increasing your hankering. I really want the freedom to be Krishna's servant. I really do want that. That's the greatest joy, the greatest release, is just to be Krishna's servant. And we have Prabhupada is an example of that, right? He was a family man, kids, wife, everything. And look what he did when he got free from all of that. Although he was Krishna conscious the whole time. So anyway, that frustration, I'm saying, creates a certain desire, which is very healthy, that I'm not as much of Krishna's servant as I want to be. That's it's like the sand inside of the oyster shell creating a pearl, right? That friction. So the pearl of Krishna consciousness is being created by our frustrations, or can be anyway. If it creates this kind of a longing in the heart that I would just love to be a real devotee. How nice that must be. So that longing for that kind of freedom, eventually it leads you there, right? Because this is temporary. That dad, that husband, that son, they don't last forever. You last forever. Krishna lasts forever. But all my relationships, they don't last forever. I've already had how many dads, children, wives? I've had them many, many times. Prabhupada calls it a fruitless glory. When he's writing his poem in Vrindavan as an old man. He's saying, I've had my children, I had my wife, I had my family, I had all of this. Now it's just a list of names, nothing more. A fruitless glory. So he's reflecting on really what does all of that mean in the end.
yeah.
Not much. So again, be responsible, but be responsible to Krishna also. Okay.
Is Brandon wanting to talk? I see a hand on the screen.
Oh, who?
There's a hand on the screen.
There's
Brandon?
a hand on the screen.
There's a name Brandon and I see a hand over there. So I don't know if he wants to talk.
You see a hand on Brandon?
Yeah. Or maybe it's mine. I'm not good at Zoom, so that was mine.
Okay.
Brandon was watching probably his hands.
I still don't do that hand, so I always raise my hand.
Oh. Yes, that's what they teach you in school.
Yoginath Prabhu,
Yeah.
I see nobody else is asking questions. So please tell us how long you stayed with Prabhupada.
I'm one of those disciples that if Prabhupada saw me, he would say, "Is he our man?" And because by the time I saw Prabhupada, he was already like a total celebrity, surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of important devotees. So the impact was there, a total impact on my life, but not through like the same thing is now. The impact on my life from Prabhupada comes from reading Prabhupada's books. Even though I saw Prabhupada and my mind was totally blown away that this guy's from another place. Even I was only 23 years old, it was obvious to me that this is the real thing. I always wanted to see a saint, but I was not even ready for this when I saw Prabhupada.
So where you met Prabhupada?
He was in Berkeley, California. He was traveling the U.S., so he was there for 3 days.
And Prabhu, I heard there is a devotee in, I think, in Sharanagati. He was present when Prabhupada left us in this material world. So who was he?
Kripanidhi was there, and Partha was there. Of course, Jamuna, who used to live here and who had extensive, close association with Prabhupada, would tell many, endearing stories. But those endearing stories don't mean anything if you don't actually follow. Right? So being close to Prabhupada really means chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and reading Prabhupada's books. If I want to get a feeling for who is this guy, because he's nothing less than Krishna's representative, and that's hard to find. You don't find Krishna's representative anywhere.
Still, I would love to touch those hands who touch Prabhupada. I always get that feeling. I don't know. Should be a beautiful feeling. One day I will be able to do that. Yeah, that's all about. Thank you.
Well, one day everything. Prabhupada says one day you're going to see Krishna face to face.
Yes,
So,
after 4 million years.
whatever. Someday
You
it
just talked
happens.
about time. Thank you.
Okay, folks. I think that's about it for tonight, unless there's one last. Okay. Hare Krishna. And I think I'm going to see you next Tuesday as well. Glories to Prabhupada.
Tomorrow is Ekadashi. Just a
Yes,
reminder.
tomorrow's Ekadashi.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare-
Bye, everybody.